On July the 22nd this year, Yahoo News released an article that reads, quote, Rings of Power UK star. My character is the face of necessary redress of balance. Hello everyone and welcome once again to another video. This time once more we are discussing the Rings of Power. It's less than 2 months before it premieres on Amazon Prime, and of course we have had backlash against it, but also lots and lots of comments, divisive comments as you would expect from both showrunners and the cast as well. This time, according to Yahoo News, it's Sophia Nomvete's turn because she had this sort of interview or talk, and Mike Vedigan is reporting that she is talking about what her character represents of a necessary redress of balance. The article says the following, quote, Sophia Nomvete says her character is the upcoming Lord of the Rings series is the face of a necessary redress of balance within the entertainment industry. That is the beginning of the problem with this thing. There is no need for a redress of balance whatsoever in Lord of the Rings. And if the entertainment industry has been uneven on that matter, there are other ways in which you can do it, and we have discussed that here before. Now, if you reckon that making characters part of the LGBT community or whatever, making them a different race, gender swapping them is a redress of balance, then you are hugely mistaken. Now, I'm not saying that Disa is a male character that was gender swapped or anything like that, of course, no. But what I am saying is that the normal tendency right now, current year entertainment tendencies, indicate that you only have to have these characteristics that I mentioned, and then you are all in, setting aside all other preferences or all other things. So there is no real balance. There is no redress in balance. The article continues. The British actress said the Amazon series would help create, quote, accessibility for generations to come, end quote, as for younger viewers. The show would be their first exposure to J.R.R. Tolkien's universe. Now, I have to say something about it. It doesn't have to be, you know. I mean, if you really want your kids interested in this world, or if they show any interest in fantasy or something like that, I reckon that the best thing to do for them is to show them the actual works, you know. And even though this might be the case and this show is an entrance to J.R.R. Tolkien's work, I would say that that is not the case, considering that this is not really an adaptation of his work, you know. Her character, Disa, is the first female depiction of a dwarf ever shown within the franchise, and one of several people of color within the cast, which is really not important, but they make a point of mentioning it, you know. The article continues with one of Nomvete's quotes. It says there, quote, we are redressing the balance within the film and television industry, and of course this franchise, and I hope lots of franchises moving forward, end quote. Now I really have to ask, what makes you think that this franchise needs this redressing of balance? I mean, we are talking already in Tolkien's work about different races working together to overcome evil. I don't reckon that it really needs any redressing balance. And what do you really mean by balance? Do you mean adding more people of different colors of skin? Or perhaps different nationalities? It is not really specific what you are talking about there, but I would assume for what comes later on that you are talking about skin color. And I don't reckon that's the sort of diversity that this work in particular is advocating for, but maybe I'm wrong, right? The article continues with another quote that says, quote, these are the best people for the roles, but what they've done is open up the doors for people of all backgrounds to come forward and have the opportunity to rise. Keep that in mind for a moment, please. The quote continues, quote, to be part of creating accessibility for generations to come. For new generations, this is their version of Tolkien. This is what my daughter will see of Tolkien's work. End quote. Now, I ask you to keep in mind the first part of this quote because I reckon that it is important to analyze it a little bit. It says there that apparently having all these people of different skin colors is opening up the doors for people from all backgrounds to come forward and rise. Now, I beg to ask, rise to what? And rise from where? What exactly are you trying to say here? Where do you think that they are going? Or where do you think they're coming from? And come forward as what? Or come forward from where? And to what direction? I mean, I don't reckon that anyone would have labeled in any way, shape or form or in any other circumstance or period of time Tolkien's work as an ist or a foe, you know? And are you implying then that people are going to rise from slavery or from lack of opportunity or what exactly, you know? And this is important for me to point out because I believe that this is telling us the sort of commentary that is going on right here. It's just palaver, you know? It's something that they were told to say, something that they were given by whatever is behind the marketing in all these rings of power thing, you know? And it also demonstrates that most of what is being discussed right now is being discussed only for the sake of having these arguments or having this spotlight from, even if it's from negative channels or as they call them, toxic fandoms, but because they are, you know, word of mouth, you know, they are everywhere. Everyone is talking about it. This channel is talking about it. But I'm talking about it to draw attention to these particular points. Why are they saying this sort of thing? And if they are saying it, what does it really mean? Is it something that they really feel, or is it something that they were given as part of a script for every single promotional material that they create, junket or interview that is going to be out there in the upcoming, well, less than 2 months before this show is premiered? That is something that I think we have to pay a lot of attention to. And also the next part, where it says to be a part of creating accessibility for generations to come. What are we talking about? Do these people not know that Tolkien's work, including The Hobbit, The Silmarillion and The Lord of the Rings, alongside everything that came from the history of Middle-earth, has been translated to numerous languages all around the world? What accessibility are they really talking about? What does it really mean? Because if you pay attention, I don't reckon that they even know what they really want or what they really are talking about. The quote continues and it says, quote, "It's their time and it's so important and I hope many people will see this fantasy and be able to relate to it."
Because it's their time. Their time.
This is a reflection of the world we live in. There are many and we are different and we will embrace and discover and peel back and learn and educate and be educated. And we can only do that when we embrace and love our differences. To be the poster child and to fly the flag, being a mother, being a woman, being a person of color, being a curvaceous woman deemed as a thing of beauty is something we don't always see. Boy. That sure is a handful of words, right? But let's dissect them, shall we? To begin with, Nomvete is calling herself a poster child. So this is the main thing here. Fly the flag. So what they are trying to tell us is that it's more important to go with modern day politics, to try and solve the quote-unquote modern day issues, which are more like the first world problems that we have, and not really problems that everyone is facing. I mean, if you talk to a person from the third world, I can assure you that they have more pressing matters at hand than who is representing them on the big screen in a Hollywood movie when they don't even know what they are going to eat next day or something like that, you know. So they are trying to go with Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, with the narrative that it can be adapted for modern day audiences and it can be and should be adapted for the modern day mentalities and of course also the sensitivities. And I reckon that we also have more information on that from what another cast member mentioned as well. Thanks to Boundary into Comics, we have now also Ismael Cruz Cordoba's ideas. He echoed Nomvete's claim that the show is a narration of Tolkien's work, saying, quote, "The awareness of diversity with Tolkien's original source material has grown. The cinematic world that Peter Jackson created has immense value, but we have shifted lenses since then," end quote. Now, the awareness of diversity with Tolkien's original source material. Let's just analyze that as well. If the work was already diverse and you are mentioning that, why do you need to change it? Why did you need to go with the, oh, let's add more diversity road with this? See what I'm telling you with this? I reckon that these are only points of discussion, buzzwords that they are using to get with the good graces of Hollywood, of course, but with all those media outlets that are going to be reviewing this, that are going to be criticizing this, but it's not really something that they believe in. It's points that they were given in order to push for this, and in order to just say, see, we are with the crowd, we are with the good people. Believe in us, give us a chance or something. I don't know. But it doesn't really sound like a genuine feeling that both Nomvete or Cruz Cordoba really have. He still continued, quote, "The conversation is different right now, but going back to the source material, the world is diverse, not only in race, but also in thought." Oh, really? Do you think so? Because that's one of the most important aspects of the work. That it is diverse, that these are different cultures, that they are different races, but they get together to fight evil. And that's one of the precious things about the original work. You don't really need to add any diversity because it already has diversity in it. And the fact that people like you and your bosses don't understand that, it just speaks volumes about the sort of project that we can expect, but also that once again we were lied to. The Boundary into Comics article also compiled the words of Cynthia Dye Robinson, who plays Muriel, supposedly, in the show, who said, "Part of the story we're trying to tell is you have people of different races coming together to defeat a common enemy." Oh, really? You're trying to look at this through a modern lens, and the world is global, and people now expect to see this kind of world globally represented. So I have a question. Did they only give these scripts to the people of color they have in the cast or something like that? Because so far we have had only people with darker skin color mentioning all these things, But anyways, what she is saying here about the world being already diverse is what we are talking about, what we have mentioned before. If the work is already a quite diverse work, why? Why do you have to change it? It doesn't make any sense at all. And then she goes with the fact that you are trying to look at this through a modern lens. Who is really trying to look at it through a modern lens? Because this is a work that is more than 60 years old or something like that. And you already have people into it from the very beginning when it was first created. And now, in modern days, you have people still going in, new people that read the books, that watch the movies, the 2001 movies, the 2012 movies. Those people didn't need to look at it through a modern lens as you are talking about here. This is not global because now you have Asian people and black people in it. This is global because, as mentioned, it has been translated to different languages, so there's already accessibility to it. Boundary to Comics also makes a point of reminding us that these sentiments echo exactly what Lindsay Weber, who is the executive producer for this show, mentioned, and she said, quote, "It felt only natural to us that an adaptation of Tolkien's work would reflect what the world actually looks like." And we already know that they are trying to say, Tolkien is for everyone, everybody. His stories are about races, fictional races that are doing their best to work alongside others, So stop being all racist and stop being all homophobic and all those big words, buzzwords that they are using all the time. And try to get along with your neighbors and stuff like that. This is something evident for any Tolkien fan that has made a point of reading actual Tolkien's work. Even Boundary to Comics helps us by quoting the professor in different letters that he wrote, one of them coming from letter 181 to Michael Strait, that has the following quote. It says, "Because I think that fairy story has its own mode of reflecting quote-unquote truth, different from allegory or sustained satire or quote-unquote realism, and in some ways more powerful," end quote. This is exactly what Tolkien was trying to describe when he talked about applicability of his work. He didn't like allegory because he didn't want to reflect the world that is out there. That's why he also talks about realism and uses, air quotes to mention it, because it's like we don't really need to add any realism to fairy stories. These are fairy stories for adults, and because of that, I appeal to their adult minds, and I want them to reflect and analyze what is being said, and maybe put it to good use in their lives. That is what Tolkien is trying to tell us with his work, that you can use all this material and try to apply it to your lives and to your world. But of course, what happens with idiots like Tweedledee and Tweedledum running this shite show? What happens with all these cast members that are talking about this? That they don't really understand that, because nobody behind this piece of work understands Tolkien, really. They are trying to strip it of its most essential elements, which are also, coincidentally, Catholic views. But anyways, the situation here is evident. These people just want to have action, an action film or an action show with Warrior Galadriel and with all these changes to reflect the real world, because Tolkien can do that. Instead of trying to adapt the work and then use it to interpret your own reality, you are destroying it, deconstructing it, and adding things that, in all honesty, nobody really cares. There are more pressing matters, such as the aforementioned Warrior Galadriel. Skin color is not really that important, people. What is important is respecting the material. But you are not doing that because you have this Warrior Galadriel and all these changes, and Sauron, who the hell knows how he arrived to Numenor and how he's going to come back to Middle-earth and all that, Those things that are important, they don't matter, right? Because skin color is more important. Anyways, to me, it is not. But let me know your opinion, guys. What do you think about this? And I also take the opportunity to thank you for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe, comment below, and I hope to see you here the next time.